I thought no contact was supposed to make my ex miss me. That's why I started. I thought if I disappeared long enough, she'd wonder where I was. Maybe she'd send a message. Maybe she'd finally realize she'd made a mistake. But 3 weeks in, something happened I never expected. I stopped waiting for her message. That's when I understood something I wish I'd known on the day we broke up. No contact was never about making someone miss you. It was about giving your mind enough silence to stop missing them, because sometimes you don't miss the person as much as you miss the version of your life that existed when they were still in it. I didn't understand that distinction until I lost her. Her name was Grace. We had been together for almost 3 years. She was the first person who made me believe I had finally found my person. We had routines that belonged only to us. Sunday morning coffee, late-night grocery runs, a restaurant we'd visit whenever neither of us wanted to decide where to eat. She knew the songs I'd skip. I knew the stories she'd tell when she was nervous. That's the strange thing about relationships. You don't just fall in love with a person. You build an entire little world around them. And when the relationship ends, you don't only lose the person, you lose the world. Our breakup wasn't dramatic. There was no cheating, no screaming, no villain. We had simply become two people who wanted different things. We tried to fix it, then tried harder. Eventually, we ran out of things to repair. The night we ended it, Grace cried. I cried. We hugged for so long that neither of us wanted to be the first to let go. Before she left, she looked at me and said, "Maybe someday, we can still be friends." I said yes. I didn't mean it. Saying no felt like accepting she was really gone. The next morning, I reached for my phone. There was no good morning text. For almost 3 years, there had always been one. That tiny absence felt enormous. I opened our conversation and scrolled through old messages, reading things I'd completely forgotten. Then I saw the last message she'd sent. "I hope you're okay." I stared at it for almost 10 minutes. Then I typed, "I miss you." I deleted it. Typed again. Deleted it. Eventually, I sent nothing. For the next few days, we stayed in contact. Nothing serious. A meme. A song. "How are you?" Messages that looked innocent but kept the wound open. If she replied quickly, I felt hopeful. If she took hours, I felt anxious. I didn't realize it then, but I wasn't healing. I was waiting for tiny pieces of reassurance to tell me I still mattered to her. That's when I made the decision. I blocked her. Not because I hated her, not because I wanted revenge, and definitely not because I wanted her to chase me. I blocked her because I knew myself. If I could still see her, I would keep checking. If I could still text her, I would keep finding reasons. And if I kept finding reasons, I would never actually experience the breakup. I'd only experience it one notification at a time. The first week was brutal. People make no contact sound simple. Just don't text. Just move on. They don't tell you what happens when your brain has spent years associating one person with comfort, and suddenly that person becomes unavailable. I reached for my phone dozens of times a day, wondering what she was doing, whether she was thinking about me, whether she'd moved on. Those questions became their own addiction. I knew I was doing something unhealthy, but I couldn't stop. Then one night I realized I hadn't spoken to Grace all day, and I had survived. It sounds insignificant, but for me, it was the first crack in the obsession. The second week felt different. I started remembering the relationship differently. When we were together, I had focused mostly on the good moments, the road trips, the laughter, the nights we stayed up talking. Now, with distance, I could finally remember the difficult parts too, the conversations we kept avoiding, the things we'd both compromised, the moments when we both knew something wasn't working, but neither of us wanted to admit it. I realized I hadn't been missing the entire relationship. I had been missing the highlights. My brain had turned it into a collection of beautiful memories and quietly deleted the reasons it ended. That hurt, but it also gave me something I hadn't had since the breakup: perspective. Then came the hardest part. The silence stopped feeling like punishment. It started feeling like space. I went back to the gym, called friends I'd neglected, started cooking again. One Saturday morning, I made coffee, sat by the window, and suddenly realized I hadn't thought about Grace for hours. Not because I'd stopped loving her, but because my life was slowly becoming bigger than the space she occupied in my mind. That scared me, because for the first time, moving on didn't feel like betraying her. It felt like surviving. About 6 weeks after the breakup, a mutual friend posted a picture. Grace was in it. She looked happy. For a second, my chest tightened. The old questions came back. Does she miss me? Has she moved on? I stared at the screen. Then I put my phone down, and something inside me felt different. 6 weeks earlier, I would have spent the entire night analyzing that picture. Now I simply thought, I hope she's doing okay, and went back to my morning. That was the moment I understood. No contact hadn't made me stop loving her. It had taught me how to love the memory of someone without needing access to them. Months later, I understood why those first weeks had been so painful. I wasn't only grieving Grace, I was grieving the routine, the identity, the future I had imagined. And every time I contacted her, I temporarily escaped that grief. Her reply gave me relief. Her silence gave me anxiety. So I'd contact her again. It was a cycle. Contact. Relief. Distance. Anxiety. Contact again. I thought I was following my heart, but sometimes your heart is simply trying to avoid withdrawal. And that's why no contact works. Not because silence magically makes an ex come back. Not because disappearing makes someone realize your value. It works because healing requires the wound to stop being reopened. Every message, every profile check, every "just wanted to see how you're doing" gives you 5 minutes of comfort and another day of confusion. Sometimes the hardest thing you can do is stop reaching for the person who used to make the pain disappear. Because eventually you learn to sit with the pain. And then something strange happens. It becomes smaller. I never got the message I secretly hoped Grace would send. She never came back asking for another chance. For a long time, I thought that meant no contact had failed. Now I understand it succeeded, just not in the way I wanted. I didn't get her back. I got myself back. The version of me who could enjoy a morning without checking his phone. The version who could hear our song without falling apart. The version who could remember her without needing her. Maybe that's the real purpose of letting go. You don't erase someone. You don't pretend they never mattered. You simply stop allowing their absence to become the center of your life. Because sometimes, closure isn't the final conversation you have with someone. Sometimes closure is the first morning you wake up and realize you don't need another conversation at all. I thought no contact was about making her miss me. I was wrong. It was about finally giving myself the chance to miss her without losing myself in the process.